And a very good morning to you, Staten Island. Hello, how are you? My name is Todd Bivona from Gotham Trinity Productions. This is SIEDC Live. I am the digital media ambassador for the SIEDC. Working hard behind the scenes, not far from me at all, is Michael Graziuso, who'll be directing this program for us today. This is the Tuesday morning version. It is May 19th. We've been in quarantine for about 3 years now, or so it feels like. But we've been happy to bring this program to you every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:30. Joining us in a little bit will be Jaclyn Taschetti, Director of Marketing and Outreach at the SIEDC. Also on today's program, Chris Ferrera, President of Comserv Connect. But first will be Hans, he's going to shoot me, Hans Wiesner, co-owner of Wiesner Brothers Nursery and Garden Center, right? Shake your head, yes, Hans, make sure I got that right. Yeah, I got it right, Wiesner. All right, good. All right, so we're on a good rip-roaring start here. So today what we're going to do, Jaclyn's going to go a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on at the SIEDC. For some of you that might recall, Cesar Claro, president of SIEDC, was tasked by the New York City mayor, the good old mayor of New York City. I asked him for his rebuilding task force and on one of his councils. So I know that there might be some news out of that camp, although Jaclyn's probably shaking her head saying, I don't know anything. But I think we will hear from SIEDC what they're doing to help the small business community on Staten Island get their feet back on the ground, get going again once their respective phase allows them to do so. Obviously, everyone trying to be compliant. So that'll be first SIEDC. And today it's very unique that we actually have two businesses joining us from the SIEDC that have actually been operational to an extent throughout this quarantine, which brings up a very interesting point of their functionality post-COVID-19 pandemic, right? So when all the phases are open, what is this going to mean for their business? Does it change? Does it change their model at all? A lot of good content today coming out of SIEDC Live. So thank you so much for joining us. Before we continue, though, be sure to share this. Look at the bottom right hand of the screen, and there's a little share button with like a weird-looking arrow. You hit that weird-looking arrow. It says share. Share it on your newsfeed. Let's share this exchange that we're having here today. All right, folks? Really appreciate you tuning in. So without further ado, I've talked way too much. It's been 2 minutes. That means it's time for Jaclyn Taschetti, Director of Marketing Outreach at the SIEDC. Jaclyn, good morning.
Good morning. I'm coming to you live from my kitchen today. Change of scenery.
I love the backdrop. However, your backdrop is beat by one of our guests today. We've had the privilege of seeing behind the scenes the most dynamic backdrop in the history of cinema. Hans Wiesner has the most epic backdrop of backdrops, including an American flag and a pergola that he said he's going to box up and ship me to my house personally. Anyway, wow. Jaclyn.
That would be amazing.
Jaclyn, the SIEDC world always has great news. What is the latest you'd like to share with us? And then cue me when you want to see the website.
Sure. So speaking of the task force that Cesar Claro is a part of, we have been sending out text messages to our SIEDC members and network with tips that Cesar has gotten from being a part of this task force. So I can run through a few of those with our audience as far as tips for when they reopen their business. So one of those is to make sure that you are stocked up on gloves, masks, supplies to sanitize the office, Lysol, Clorox wipes, all of that, because you want to make sure you create a clean environment for your staff to work in. Another recommendation that's come from the task force is to have staggered work days. So if you have a staff of, let's say, 10 or more people, you may want to stagger your workforce, some coming in at, let's say, 8 to 4 and some coming in a little bit later, just so that you never have too many staff members in a small location. Another thing that was recommended is that you make sure you only have a certain amount of people in the elevator at a time. You limit deliveries to the office to make sure that there's no outside people in the office, at least when you're first phasing into back to work. Another thing that was recommended is to stagger your workforce to come in on certain days of the week. So you may have, let's say, 5 of your staffers work Monday, Wednesday, the others come in Tuesday, Thursday, and maybe you'll work from home on Fridays. So there's been a lot of great information coming from this task force, just with small tips that can be applied to all different types of businesses. And we have been doing our best to make sure to put that into content, whether it be on our social media, email blasts, or text blasts to members and the local community, just so we're making sure we're sharing all the information that's coming from that task force.
Wow. Once again, great to hear. Well, it sounds like Darth Vader in the background. With that said, Jaclyn, any news from Caesar and his camp on the council there, or anything that he has found out, or anything that he wanted to pass along, or that he's been able to provide the mayor?
So thus far, we've really been just sharing those small tips with businesses because we want to make sure we refine all of the information before sharing it with the public. But it's really been thus far what Caesar has gotten from the task force has been those small tips that I just explained. But we are also bringing back to the mayor's task force feedback from our audience and our network. So I would say mostly the restaurant industry and retail businesses have had the most concerns because they may have the most changes when they, go back to work, because it's going to look a lot different than what they're used to. Right. So we've been sure to relay that information back to the mayor's task force and hopefully get some answers for them in a timely fashion.
All right. And now we want to head over to SIEDC.org, which has been a very reliable source throughout this pandemic for members and non-members alike, with plenty of great information, whether it's grants, PPP plans, whatever it may have been, just general assistance in getting the answers to all those questions that Jaclyn just mentioned, that Caesar is sharing with the mayor on all the concerns from restaurant owners, gym owners, and everyone in between, what this means for everyone. So, Jaclyn, I believe you wanted to go to the website today. Is that right?
Yes. So we have on our homepage the Reopening, Rebuilding, and Resiliency Program document. And this will include all of the services that the SIEDC is providing for local businesses, both members and non-members alike. And this document is updated weekly. So you can go here to see some of the things that the SIEDC has done thus far, and also some of the services that we will be providing in the future. So that's everything from education, proactive planning, personal marketing consultations if you're changing your business plan. But all of that can be found in this document that will remain on our homepage for the foreseeable future, to be honest with you. And also one thing that two things I wanted to note on our website is we've talked here about publications that we normally distribute via print. So if you wouldn't mind, Todd, if we could go to, is that programs? I can't see. That's programs, right? So if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, you'll see there should be our adaptive reuse booklet. So we had planned to distribute this via print to industrial business all the way at the bottom. Should be at the bottom. This is the document here. So you can download it here. You can contact Jay Anderson, who's handling this entire program. But basically, this booklet includes ways to reuse properties that are available on Staten Island. It also includes some available properties and how we suggest to reuse them for a different purpose. So this was originally supposed to be issued in print, but we now have it on our website. And then lastly, if you want to go back to the top, I'll take you to one more page on our website. I want to make sure that's the right one. Of course, I can't see. I'm blind, even with my glasses. So if you scroll down, that's neighborhoods, right? If you scroll down to the bottom, or to the top, I'm sorry, of this page, that's right. There's a neighborhood profile booklet. So one of the things that separates our organization from a lot of other business groups on the island is we have an entire team. It's on the right side, or my right, looking at the screen. So that's it, the neighborhood development profile. That'll show some of the work that our team, our projects division, is doing in neighborhoods across Staten Island. So we do recommend, Staten Island takes a lot of pride in the neighborhoods that you come from. And if you want to see some of the work that the SIEDC is doing in those neighborhoods, you can download that profile there and see some of the work that we're doing throughout Staten Island. So one of the things I'll be doing on this program is just telling you where you can find some of these documents that I know normally people are used to receiving in print. The next one will be our membership directory and also a snapshot of the borough. So when those are published, we'll let you know and we'll walk you through that as well.
Last thing, I ask it every time we come on this show, but I think it's important that people know for events that are open to the public that have all changed and moved around, we like to say nothing is canceled. It is postponed. Jaclyn, what is postponed?
So I would say most noteworthy and what I'd like to mention on this show are two of our signature events, which is the SIEDC Business Conference, which thus far has been postponed to October 8th at the Hilton Garden Inn. It may be a little bit different because, there'll be certain guidelines in place of how we can produce this event, but we are still looking to hold it, and it is postponed. And lastly would be the Health and Wellness Expo, which I would imagine this year would be a very popular topic one way or another.
Kind of.
So we're scheduled to have that event on November 4th, also at the Hilton Garden Inn. So we're very hopeful and optimistic that these events will still be produced and put on for the public and our members. But like I said, it may look a little different, but who knows, maybe even better. So we're excited for that.
Everything is going to be better this time around, Jaclyn. I guarantee it. All right, that was Jaclyn, Director of Marketing Outreach from the SIEDC. Jaclyn, thank you. Without further ado, are you ready to bring in Hans? Hans, there he is. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Hi, excellent.
Hi, Hans.
So as you can see, everyone, Hans has the greatest backdrop in the history of cinema that I absolutely love and adore. All the different types of lines and color and imagery, people walking around. It's good to see people out there, Hans. How are you? How's everything going over there?
Well, I want to thank SIEDC right off the bat because they've been great through this whole, I guess you would say, pandemic. They've been very supportive daily with the emails and phone calls. And I also wanted to thank Caesar and Steve because Steve helped us acquire the PPP program, and we were approved. We are actually fully functional. We have over 5 acres of trees and shrubs, and we grow. So we have an agriculture license, and we're able to remain open. Of course, we have to follow the government guidelines with personal space and protection, which we do. And we're just very fortunate that we're able to remain open because there's been a resurgence and a renaissance, if you will, of people getting back to an agrarian lifestyle, working in the yard, taking off their shoes and walking in the grass. And it's just been overwhelming how many people have been coming here and just are so relieved that we're open.
And you've been providing this service throughout the pandemic, isn't that right, Hans?
That's correct. Like I said, we have an agriculture license with New York State. We grow, we have to remain open. We also provide landscape design and installation services, which are kind of curtailed on the big picture, but on the smaller scene with the removing of hazardous trees, maintenance, and following New York State guidelines and New York City guidelines, we are still able to send a crews out.
Hans, in this time, obviously you've been open to a certain capacity, but have you been able to focus your efforts on anything else in regards to your business? And Hans, that could mean general maintenance work to your location. That could be website maintenance. As a business, have you taken this opportunity to do anything else, or have you just been that busy, Hans?
Well, to be straightforward with you, we haven't had a spring like this in quite some time. We did alter our business model a little bit. We actually had to cater to people where we actually have people phoning in their orders, leaving an envelope in the trunk, and as soon as they pull up, they call, we run out their order, take the envelope, and say goodbye to them. We've always stressed quality and service, so people could call and talk to us, and we could walk them through any project they want to do in the yard. Even though we might not necessarily be able to do it because of guidelines, but we could walk them through, they could pick up the material. We also provide curbside deliveries. So we've actually, the majority of our bread and butter was always doing landscape contracting work on the road. But now the retail has jumped quite nicely because a lot of people are doing it themselves and because we can't do as much as we normally do.
So I feel like all the honey-do lists, that's who you've been getting at your store, right? Because now you have the opportunity to finish that honey-do list, especially, honey, could you go do the gardening finally? And so are you getting a lot of that, I guess, during this time? Because what else are they going to do?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, our garden center manager, Paul, he was off yesterday. So that was the first thing I asked him if he finished his honey-do list yesterday, and he looked kind of tired.
What kind of advice can you provide people who might not normally have the time, but now they have the time when it comes to gardening? And I know it's dependent upon what you do have and the type of soil you do and don't have. What was popular during Mother's Day? You got, I don't know, Father's Day coming up. What types of plants do you normally recommend that you? I mean, I'm sure you have such an arsenal, but what's the general advice you give people when it comes to sprucing up their area a little bit?
Well, what happens is, like I said earlier, that people come here for for quality and service and our knowledge. So people come here when they want to get something really special for mom, and now dad's coming up. You're probably going to need to buy him a hammock for all the work he's been doing. But what happens is people really come here because they want to understand what makes things thrive and what makes things work. And a lot of times where they get the discount at the big store, they don't get the expertise and the wisdom of people who actually do the type of thing we do. Because we've been open over 90 years. We've been open since 1928. So people really come here because they want to get something special. They want to walk around over 5 acres of trees and shrubs. This building you're looking at behind me is like 6,000 square feet undercover. So even if it's raining, people can come in and browse. People have been doing a lot of container gardens, vegetable gardens. People are just like tackling those projects that they've been neglecting because they've been so busy. The people are all working from home now, and we have people who just come here to walk around because they got cabin fever. So we just encourage them to take a walk around, stroll through the nurseries, take a look at the chickens, and they say it's like a park here. So when we go to close, a lot of times people are just like sitting in the gazebo in the back, hanging out, and we're like, "Well, folks, we want to go home and have dinner. Is it all right if you guys head out?"
Chickens?
Yeah, we have chickens. We have a chicken coop, and we get fresh eggs every day. But the interesting thing is that a lot of people, when they walk by that chicken coop, they're like, "Oh, I could do this," and I'm like, "It's very simple to raise chickens," and it all ties in with gardening.
Wow.
They actually make very good weeders. You can let them loose in the garden. They eat the weeds.
My mind is blown right now. I don't equate chickens, Staten Island. I think of deer. I think of raccoons. I don't think of having chickens or a chicken coop. It's really not that bad to raise and maintain.
It's very simple. You just can't have roosters because they're afraid of cockfighting, but you'll get a summons if you have a rooster, but you can have as many hens as you want as long as you keep it clean. But what I'm finding more and more, Todd, is that these people are just so happy we're open.
Yeah.
And because we've been here since 1928, and people have come here all the time because they love to just browse and and there's plenty of room for social distancing because we have over 5 acres. And so they call and say, "I want to pick it up in a parking lot." We'll accommodate that. They want us to do a delivery, like a curbside delivery to their house. We'll do that. And so much is done electronically, even with landscape design and consulting. So they don't even have to have us come and meet with them face to face. We could do it like we're doing. I could send them a digital computer image of the project. I could send them, a PDF of the plan, send them pictures of the plants, and we could do the transaction totally online.
So you've evolved as a business since the 1920s, and you kind of answered my question already, is how do you plan to transition in this phased era, right? When all businesses are back up and we're all allowed to get out of the stay at home directive from the governor. So you're already ready. You already know what's going to happen, and you're pretty solid with the way to go. I want to go back to the history a little bit. That's some history. Talk about what it's meant and how you guys have evolved over such a long period of time with the business and just growing with the times.
Okay. Well, my grandfather and his brother started the business in 1928, and they were immigrants from Germany. He was a forester by training. He came over, he invested everything he saved in buying this piece of property, and then you know what happened in 1929. The property was worth half of what he paid for it. So you want to talk about a young businessman getting a gut punch, you buy a business, and the next year there's the Great Depression. So what happens is, because of the work that he does, he was actually hired by the government to take on a lot of projects and run out of work people doing plantings along the train tracks on Staten Island, a lot of projects to keep guys up and running and be able to put food on a table.
Oh, wow.
So our roots go deep into the community. We invest in the community all the time. And what happens is I really feel bad for our fellow contractors who aren't allowed to work, like the masons, the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters, because these are all the guys we do joint projects with. As a landscape architect, I design the entire outside of the house. So I might be hiring a pool contractor, a mason, an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter to complete the project. But we have projects out there waiting to go. in
Sure.
big open spaces where you can easily socially distance, but they can't work, and they're threatened
Right.
with a $10,000 fine. So I feel for them really badly.
Of course. Yeah. Even like a fireplace guy might do an outdoor fireplace or something, or
Exactly.
that you
So
might.
I'm expecting a boom once they lift the restrictions, because everybody has projects that we're still designing projects. As soon as they lift it, they're ready to get chomping at the bit to get started.
See, that's a great point you bring up, Hans, is that a lot of people have been held up and they're just postponed. And that's important. Things aren't canceled. We're not canceling our order. We're not canceling what was expected. We're going to be okay. You just got to wait for all this to pass. And then your guys are going to be busy as a beaver come July, August, and September, right?
Exactly. I mean, I've been doing work for a lot of my contracting friends because they're doing projects in their yard. But you could just imagine how frustrating that is, that you have guys who want to work. They want to bring their guys in, and they have projects lined up where you could easily follow the guidelines and social distance and use the safety measures, the protective measures, but they just can't even have their trucks leave the yard.
Wow.
For fear of getting, a summons. So I feel very strongly, just by the amount of work that we have right now going on,
right,
and the vibes I'm getting from customers is they can't wait to get back to normal and get things started. And they want to hear good news. They don't.
Yes.
They're tired of hearing statistics. They're tired of hearing predictions and models. They want to go out and get going. They're Staten Islanders. They don't like sitting on their hands.
That's great, Hans. Wow, what a great vibes from Hans. I love it. I mean, that's really exciting to hear. Good news, Hans. I'm going to ask you to stick around because we're going over today. We're going SIEDC live overtime. So I want you to stick around because I have a question for you. I have a question for Chris, who's going to join us next. Chris Ferrera is the president of Comserv Connect. Hans, thank you so much for this one-on-one here.
My pleasure.
Stick and stay. I got another 10 minutes with Chris I want to give here, but then I want to bring it back in the fracas. So Hans, hang on. Let's bring on Chris Ferrera. He is the president of Comserv Connect. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Boy, I'm amped up today. And just seeing Hans's backdrop alone just got me amped, as I've referenced now 3 times as it's the best backdrop in cinema history. At any rate, Chris, you have a lovely leather couch, by the way, and lovely verticals.
It's pretty old. And I just want to say I have a lot of questions about chickens because I want chickens as well. And
right?
My wife is against it. I have dogs, the barking. I don't know how it works, but free eggs is amazing.
I mean, to talk about being self-sufficient during some unprecedented times. I mean, that's what I should have had. That's what I should have ordered in March.
It's like $5 a dozen.
Had I freaking known. Anyway, chickens are getting us off on a tangent here. Chris, let's get to business. Let's give our SIEDC member community and all those beyond tuning in from around the world a little bit about Comserv Connect. Tell us a little bit about it.
Definitely. And I just wanted to thank you guys for inviting me on. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the information that you guys have been putting out there. And I'm sorry for my phone ringing, of course, right in the middle of this. But so we're a technology solutions company. In small, medium, and large companies, we provide we install data networks. We're a federally regulated VoIP provider. So we do phone systems from anywhere from companies who have 1 or 2 people to people with thousands of endpoints. So that's kind of where we've been for a while, kind of on the network side, the support of those systems and doing stuff like that. So we've been using, yeah.
No, I was gonna let you keep going, but do want to make sure I get everything in time here. We are going to go to SIEDC live overtime. Our executive producer is yelling at me. However, we're going to keep going. So, Chris, you also have been functioning during this pandemic, during this quarantine. You have had to adapt because of your business, and everyone's been working from home. Talk a little bit how that's been. Has business been steady? Has it seen slight decline, or business is normal, Chris?
Good question. So, it's weird because if you in the Staten Island smaller business type of landscape, working from home and those type of technologies I've seen frowned upon for a long, long time. Whereas the bigger companies outside of the island and just bigger in general, they've been having people work from home. I'm sure you know people that work for bigger companies, and they've been they live in Texas, but their company's in New York and they have no office there. So a lot of these technologies have been around for a long time. It's just small business adapting to them has kind of been the lag. So for us, having, apps that have phones attached to them so you can work from anywhere attached to the internet is something we've had for a long time. But now obviously that's evolving into something else at this point.
Chris, any adaptations in this phased era and getting into when everyone's back to work? Do you need to adapt at all? Is there extra precautions that you need to provide to your clients in times like this? If there's more people working from home, or what, if anything, what do you feel you have to change?
Definitely. So we're still doing on-site jobs, just a lot less because some projects, like new stuff, has been put on hold, but we still support companies. So, 80-90% of what we support is done remotely anyway. But if we have to go on site, we have to. We do it outside of Staten Island and around the rest of the boroughs. We have a lot of medical companies that they treat pretty seriously ill people with all different types of afflictions, and this has just made it worse. So that part's been a little bit scary, and we're more hesitant on that on those type of things. But thank God we've been able to have people, and some things get people to kind of work through their own problems by helping them remotely, unless there's a physical thing, that needs to be done on site. But definitely masks. The thing with gloves, that's hard. If you work with your hands a lot, especially screws, wires, typing, the things break. So I'm a big believer in just washing your hands as much as you can. But the mask, you got to have a mask on. Even if you don't believe in it for yourself, you should definitely do it for other people. It's the right thing to do for now, But that's what we're doing.
And that's what all the experts have been saying. It's not so much about you, but it's about those around you and all those who are more susceptible to getting ill because of this that we're thinking of. And I obviously you've still been busy throughout this time, and it was great today having Hans on and you on, who've been working through this.
Super cool company, Hans.
Really cool for the both of you guys working equally as hard, and you so necessary. Are there any precautions you'd like to share with people when it comes to working from home or being out on the road or regards to what you do that you could share?
Yeah, so something we've been kind of working on and talking to people about is like the next step. So everybody kind of did and I don't want to push, assume that what I'm saying is what's going to happen next as far as this. Whether we're going to be home, whether it's going to come back at the end of the year, I don't know, and I don't know. But what I know is that with the technology that we have now in general, this has forced people to use more things and kind of see and open their eyes to Zoom and this and Teams and all these other different technologies. I think the next step is going to be, and what we're talking to people about now is, how do you keep it going where, because a lot of people are talking about even real estate, and there's a lot of scary stuff going because people are realizing now, not stores, restaurants, obviously you need a store, you need a place for people to go, but service related places like mine or lawyers or whatever, they have less of a need, a lot of these places, to have big offices. So a lot of them are looking to invest more heavily in technology, less in real estate, and kind of have that kind of level out a little bit. So they're really, because the biggest thing with working from home is collaboration is key. It's just a matter of, can you really, if you work, like we work on complicated projects a lot of the time. So how do you really as opposed to walking to somebody's desk, how do you share a file quickly? How do you really look at something on the fly? How do you keep track of that? Maybe you can video conference somebody on Zoom, but how do you go back to that in a couple of days and look at that and kind of look at your notes? And it's just it's a big jump from working together every day, being next to each other, coughing on each other and sneezing on each other, right? And then now the other side of that. So that's kind of what we're working on now, but and leveraging that, because people still need to have voice. They need to be able to talk to their customers. Texting, chatting, all those things are great from a website or for whatever, but to get the details done, you have to talk to people. So people don't want their customers that are calling to buy something. They don't want to go into voicemail. They don't want to forward into there's all different things that we can talk about and do with people, and that's what we're doing.
Right. And have you had any time to focus on any other aspect of your business now that everyone was working from home, or not really, since you guys have been busy?
We've been busy, but you know what though? I live in Farmingdale, New Jersey, which is like by Howell, so I'm like exit 100, and I'm from Staten Island, but I moved here like 2 years ago, almost 3. So and hence the wanting chickens because we have a little bit of land. But not traveling, an hour or so a day back and forth because it's about 45 minutes an hour. Because our office is at 1110 South, so not having to go there every single day. I mean, that's hours and hours over 2 months that of extra time. So besides a couple, old school TV shows, I'm watching Lost with my boys right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm trying to catch them up on some older TV. There definitely has been more time. We've been busy, but there's more time. So a lot of things we've been focusing on are automation. So how to automate workflows within our company to kind of trigger new things. So if we're working on an opportunity and that opportunity closes, automating a lot of emails and just notifications to people. So less things get, I don't want to say missed because we do a good job but again, when you're together every day, it's a big difference than having to work like this, where I think automation is going to be the big thing for a lot of businesses using technology to automate processes.
Right. Okay. I'm trying to think. I had a follow-up question.
Hope that makes sense.
I just lost. No, it does, and it totally does. I'm sorry. I was fishing for another question. You know what? I think my mind is just on animals so much because you mentioned chickens in New Jersey and having space. So that leads me an excellent segue back to Hans. Apparently the keeper of chickens. Last question I have for you guys. So this is SIEDC Live Overtime. It is 10:02 a.m. Tuesday, May 19th. Very happy to have you both with us. Let's bring Jaclyn back in as well. Why not? Let's get her back into the fracas. Hello again, Jaclyn. Let's unmute your microphone, please. Hey, Jaclyn.
Hi. Hi, guys.
So Hans,
Hello. Hey,
so
Jaclyn.
Hans, in addition to chickens, what else has helped your business throughout the years from a business organization perspective, like the SIEDC, and what value have you seen in being an organization like that and working with other small businesses on Staten Island?
Well, I think it all ties into the fact that it's like a brotherhood, and it's more than just going to meetings. It's like getting to know people personally. I mean, Steve Grillo actually is assigned to me, and he follows up with me, calls me, checks in with me. And what it does is it actually makes you feel a lot more stable in turbulent times because you know that you got a huge brain trust and group of people behind you who it isn't their first rodeo, and they're willing to help you out in any way they could. And they've just been great through this whole process. So of like I mentioned earlier with acquiring the PPP loan.
Right. They've been very instrumental. And Hans, I just want you to take a look here at your screen if you can in program. We were shooting a bit for the SIEDC's all-member video. This is an excerpt from, we did a remake of Bohemian Rhapsody, except we used all SIEDC members, and your location being as gorgeous as it is, although we didn't get your backdrop that you're sitting in front of right now, sadly. But we did get the exterior of your backdrop. Go ahead.
Nice. Very nice.
You can play through it. And there's my car zipping by. Oh, and then we got people singing. We go around Casale Jewelers. Hello, Corey. We said hello. And then there's more people singing and whatnot. So we just wanted to highlight, Hans, you and the exterior of your place is gorgeous.
Thank you.
So, Hans, can't wait to see your chicken soon. Chris, I give you the same question. Again, we're still in SIEDC Live Overtime. It's 10:04. Jaclyn approved this. What is your biggest thing when it comes to the small business community and working with others and working with the SIEDC and that vibe and those meetings in person and the get-togethers? How valuable has that been for you and your business in these past few years?
Definitely. I mean, I've only been a member for a couple of years, but I've met a lot of great people being in the SIEDC. These live events, the text messages, all the stuff you guys are doing is well appreciated. It just adds to all this, and it's I definitely think it's worthwhile for you guys to keep doing it and keep on going.
Thank you so much.
The email blasts are great, and I'm reminded where to go, what restaurants to go to because of the Executive Dining Network, which is awesome. Thinking of Daddy-O's and Max's S guy got an email about that. So great places to go to. All right. Jaclyn's going to not be happy if I don't end it here at 10:05. So with that being said, Hans Weiss, co-owner of Weiss Brothers Nursery and Wiesner. Shoot. I had it when I started the show, and I missed it at the end. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. All right, so here we go. One more time. Hans Wiesner, co-owner of Wiesner Brothers Nursery and Garden Center. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you, Jaclyn.
Chris Ferrera, president of Comserv Connect. Thank you for your time, sir. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the great information today.
Thanks. I appreciate being invited. Thanks.
All right. Those guys were excellent. That was really cool. Mike, thanks so much for working hard behind the scenes. And, of course, thank you to Jaclyn Taschetti for being the co-host with the most, as always. All right. That'll do it for us on this edition of the SIEDC Live. We thank you so much for tuning in. Coming up next, it's Breakfast with Bloomy. Mike Bloomfield will be live right now at Techie Geek's Facebook page. Yeah, it happens just like that. JMT Media, fellow SIEDC member, has this show, Community Quarter, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live at 11 a.m. Yesterday, she was live on location from Verrazano CrossFit. Very cool. At 2 p.m., Frank Wilkinson brings you live from Rabs Country Lanes, a very empty Rabs. However, they have an excellent show open and an excellent show close. Just saying, Gotham might have done that. Midday with Massimo Dodonna, president of Partners in Sound Productions and Carl Beanie Fund. He has a great midday show. And some breaking news from yesterday, he is going to run the New York City Marathon for Michael's cause. Let's see how that works out. And, of course, rounding out your evening, Michael Graziuso, the man behind the man today, is going to be the man in front of the camera tonight for Gotham After Dark live at 10 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us here on SIEDC Live. This was the Tuesday edition. Appreciate the time. My name is Todd Bivona for Gotham Trinity Productions, your SIEDC Digital Media Ambassador. At some point, I'll get that title right. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. But first, Breakfast with Bloomy, Techie Geek. Check it out. Take care, guys.